For those of you old enough to remember martial law, yung kay Marcos, hindi yung kay Duterte. You must have remembered the Samahang Nayon at the time. It was a program of government to, in fact, to replace the cooperatives that were organized on a voluntary basis. The government, Marcos, had a framework for development of cooperatives starting from the village up to the national level. And fortunately, and he wanted to deregister all cooperatives and follow the framework of government. Fortunately, at that time, the cooperatives that were organized on a voluntary basis already had taken root in many parts of the Philippines, even if they were small, but they were organized on self-help basis, therefore strong yung foundation niya. And the training centers that were organized by these cooperatives. When the issue of the government wanting to replace all cooperatives and let them follow the government framework of development, NATCCO was born because of the decision of the 5 centers was to organize a national body in order to represent the voice of the voluntary sector. Of course, I came in 3 years later because NATCCO was born in 1977. I came in 1980, and I was tasked to coordinate the effort of the centers. So at that time, the cause of the movement was really to protect the independence of the voluntary sector, which for us was the real basis for growth of cooperatives, not the government initiated or supported cooperatives.
So not just necessarily for NATCO, it's the sector?
It was the sector.
Oh.
As I said already at the time, they were coming up. They had taken root in many communities, so we were really strong. They were very strong in defending the independence of the private sector. So the cause at the time was really preserving the independence of I would call the voluntary sector in cooperatives.
Direct answer from you. Have we won the fight?
In a sense, yes, because even now, of course, NATCCO represents the voice of the voluntary sector. Most of our members, I know most of the members of MASPEC, of NATCCO, were born during that time and continue to prosper and continue to support the voluntary movement, the voluntary sector movement.
That's right. Thank you very much. Sa MICOOP, may mga taga MICOOP pa ba dito and the MICOOP service group, MICOOP team. I would like to introduce to you yung sinasabi ko sa inyo na facilitator who assisted the MICOOP team in drafting its first development plan. Siya po yun, si Mr. Romulo Villamin. Palakpakan naman natin. And of course, Mr. Nung panahon mo naman, ano yung pinaglalaban ng NATCCO as you being there as CEO?
Yes, following from the time of Romy when they were establishing the cooperatives, as this is actually not a government-run organization, but rather self-help organizations. Then turned over to me, that was the time when we were seeking the identity of the cooperatives as being part of the NGO community, but a very unique one at that. So we were saying that if a cooperative is to succeed, it has to be privately initiated, privately run. So we're saying we're part of the NGO community, but at the same time we're saying, but we're not just an NGO. We are a cooperative because our very difference is that our board do not just come from inviting people who may be able to contribute to the growth of the cooperatives, but rather they come from the memberships of the cooperative. It was harder, yes, because we won't have necessarily the likes of a person with a doctorate in, say, in business management for us to have as chair. Rather, we have to settle with whatever or whoever are the people who constitute our cooperatives. It is empowering in the sense that we're not just actually treating them as beneficiaries, but indeed we're true to our very essence that we are a self-help organization. We get our strength from our people, and particularly we have this one person, one vote. We're saying that we are giving importance primarily to the person. So even if that person is a college graduate, a doctorate, or perhaps just a farmer who has not completed any college degree, then we get that person to be a part of our board of directors, of our committees, because we're saying we are empowering people. We are not just treating them as beneficiaries. Rather, we are teaching them to become skilled in running a cooperative because we are empowering them by educating them and telling them how to run cooperatives. So that was the time when we were fighting for that. So we joined the Code NGO, but still at the same time, we were saying that this is what we're fighting for. I remember that at that time when I joined NATCCO in 1987, I actually did not know the definition of a cooperative. I was just invited to join NATCCO because at that time there was nobody with an economic background. So they invited me, and when I saw the definition of a cooperative, oh, I like that. I like equitable distribution of resources. I like empowering people. So I joined them, and then everybody I remember then all my professors in the University of the Philippines, they were asking me, "What's that, Tere? What is a cooperative?" Because at that time, we were only thinking about Samahang Nayon. But that was way back, and then we joined the Code NGO. And then, when it came to, as what Noni Bacani related a while ago, we joined the party list organization. We did not join the other NGOs. We had our own. And then, the case was proven that at that time, 1997 was the first party list elections, and we won. Only 12 organizations won. One from the NGO, the Akbayan, which is a group, a conglomerate of NGOs, and Co-op NATCO. So it showed very clearly then that unlike an NGO who would have beneficiaries, we are actually very much connected to the people because these people, they are the ones running these cooperatives, the board are coming from them, they are the ones saving their money so that we have a money to start with, because that was also the start of the microfinance, and they kept on saying, how come you are always demanding that the people save first before you lend them? But we're saying, but we're teaching them self-help, so we cannot just give them money. They have to learn how to invest, because only if you have a stake in the organization will you really care for that organization. And that was also we were thinking that that was also the reason why we won in the party list election, because the membership of the cooperatives, they are invested in the co-op. They want that cooperative to win because they know that cooperative is them. That is their own organization. They are not just beneficiaries. They are the ones running the cooperative. They are the ones making the cooperatives become really strong organizations. So at that time, that was how that was also the time when we were first invited to say to NAPC, or we were first invited by ADB, who at that time also did not know cooperatives. So it was the time when we were introducing ourselves. Hey, here we are. And that was also the time when indeed SIDA recognized the cooperatives and provided projects directly to NATCO because they believe in self-help organizations. They believe in privately run cooperatives.
That's great. Thank you very much. So that's a shift from being a beneficiary, a recipient of the goodies, to a self-help. Ibig sabihin, even before, ang lakas na ng self-entitlement. Parang, we are poor, help us. We are poor, help us. But in the cooperative, we're teaching them that you help yourself. You help one another. So that was the fight before. Moving on to the next generation. Thank you very much, Madam. Kong Paes, ano kaya ang pinaglaban during your time?
Yeah. Adolfo. Okay. I'm trying to harmonize my body clock. I just arrived from the States, supposed to be not in harmony with the climate around. Yeah? But anyway, let me start this way. I have gone a long, long way from where I started. Mordino Kua was the person responsible that provided my life, the direction of my life. But insofar as the question is concerned, at the time, by the way, I witnessed the 5 people meeting in Cebu City, Regia Hotel. Regia Hotel. The 5 people agreeing to establish NATCO, and I was a witness because my job was to prepare the meeting. So they were debating and talking. There were 2 things that were talked about in that meeting, as far as I could remember. One, because there was harassment. That was martial law. Martial law. And we need to have a bigger voice and a stronger voice. And I remember that at the time when I conducted meetings and seminars, there's always that, a uniform guy listening, watching, because that's part of the deal, that we continue conducting seminars on condition that we have this PC policeman, watching what we're talking about. So it's more on a voice, political, parang political in action, that we need to unify the 5 centers. That's one. Number 2, we need to have a common ideological orientation. MASPIC was oriented so much with the German system at the time, and there was closer coordination between BICTO and MASPIC, SPEC at the time. But the orientation of BICTO is the Canadian system, and then at the time, BICTO and SPEC were asked to set up also BCDC and TAGCODIC and later NORLO. So it was very strong, and it was Mordino Kua that I think we need to have a common understanding about ideology, because it is possible that we understand cooperative ideology, but it can be prostituted or diluted ideology. We should have the same orientation. That's why there was a discussion to have a uniform curriculum, one standard of education and training. Education. And that was the driving force, as a matter of fact, that we need to put up NATCO at the time. So this was the direction. And it was repeated many times, that kind of ideology. Example, self-help plus mutual self-help equals cooperative. That was repeated many times, And in fact, it was Rumi who was asked and hired as the first CEO. But it came later, because Rumi, you joined NATCO as CEO maybe 5 years or 3 years after. So it was really a necessity during the time that we need, within NATCO we develop the same culture. If we talk something about education in Mindanao, the same education, cooperative education, should happen also in Luzon. So the only way is to set up NATCO. Ganun yung nangyari, because I was witness during the discussion at the time.
Thank you so much. So, yung time mo na, sir, yan yung unang-una pa, doon ka na eh. Pero naging CEO ka, you followed the CEO Kua. Yung kailan lang yun?
Mga 5 or 6 chairs ko eh.
Oo.
But I mastered the art of managing these guys, at the time,
So that was the
because
cause
they
you're fighting
because
for?
they behave differently. But I follow the board's decision, but we need to manage the board.
Yeah.
Before the meeting, usually the board meeting, kami sa management, magmi-meeting namin. Kuha na kami, sabihin namin, ano kaya ang tanong ni
Ng
ni
board.
Noni? Kasi ito si Noni, very talkative ito during the time. Ano kaya ang tanong ni Fred, ni Mamay, and all that. So we need to have a closer look at as to what is going to happen. That was during my time. It's really survival. My time, survival. So we need to have an idea
We have to.
an idea that would ensure NATCO's survival and stability. We have great people. The management staff, highly passionate. In fact, I would like to credit to them. And they are still around. You are still around. Bangi, for instance. Sila si Amy, nandyan pa si Amy. Magre-retire na si Amy, no?
Kikay.
Kikay, nandiyan is Kikay. And we knew that being a donors-driven institution, we cannot survive longer. We need to find a way that we can stand on our own in a business way. That's where we are fighting for at the time.
Did you find a solution to win the fight?
2004, I
Ikaw
was
ba?
appointed as NATCO CEO. NATCO's assets was 65 million after 25 years. During my time, our time, in 7 years, we made it more than 1 billion.
Great. Thank you so much. Palakpakan po natin. Last but not the least, present ngayon. Ma'am, ano na ba yung pinaglalabanan natin ngayon? What is this cause that we are fighting for?
I came in 2009 with the urging of the Mindanao leaders after the passing away of the late Guillermo Cua and Chris assuming the position as the party list representative. So, kung nandito pa si Gil, wala sana ako dito sa Manila. Life would have been easier in Mindanao. Pero may martial law doon ngayon, so dito na lang muna ako. I'm on my 8th year in NATCO. The major discussion since I started as CEO was really about specialization and later on integration of the network. So in the last 5 years of NATCO, the topic has always been towards building an integrated network. A very loaded word, integrated network. It cannot be easily understood, but we're looking at the models around the world because we saw that an integrated network is the more sustainable form for cooperatives. And right now, that will continue to be the work that we will do because you cannot integrate in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. We have bits and pieces of the elements of integration, but we have to move it some more. And I see NATCO, it is big. It is a sleeping giant. We are 45% in terms of assets of the whole sector, but we have to unite towards one direction, one vision, because even if we're so big and we're moving on different ways, then we will not be able to maximize the strength of NATCO. So, in an integrated network, the cooperatives should be busy in serving their members better so that they improve their lives. But some of the responsibilities should be delegated to the federation. That would mean that some powers of the primary should be given to the federation, and that is a very heavy discussion. I think Chris started the businesses of NATCO, the Central Fund, the My Co-op, the IT. my job was to put it into another level. So right now we have the Kaya payment platform as a way to interconnect everybody, which is really part of the integrated network. Then you have to move some more the businesses of NATCO so that we become sustainable. But given the competition right now, we have to look back again on still the sustainability of NATCO. Because if the businesses of NATCO will not give it so much income, we cannot do the rest of the services of NATCO. That is at the NATCO level. On the sector level, we continue to look for ways so that we are recognized by the government. Look at the Philippine Development Plan. The sector remains to be a footnote. That is not good for us. We have very big contribution, but when it comes to Philippine development planning, we still have to work hard so that cooperatives be recognized as really one of the big contributors to development of the country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ma'am. And I would like to strengthen that claim about integration. Nag-research lang naman ako. In year 2012, tinignan ho, I look at the souvenir program of NATCO, and I discovered that there were 5 general assemblies when integration was made part of. In 2012, we have this theme, nurturing resiliency in cooperatives through an integrated network. In 2013, this is, advancing solidarity and collective development through an integrated network. Believe talaga sa integration, pero hanggang ngayon hindi pa rin matuloy. Again, during the time of Mr. Ebron, yung dalawang sunod na General Assembly, kineri ulit ang integration. The first one, advancing financial inclusion and sustainable development. Before his term ended, you have way forward integration of cooperatives. I think hinog na ang integration, bugbog na ang ating discussion about network integration. It's time really to move, to level up the discussion of this NATCCO network integration. Just to close our talks, maganda na ikabit-kabit na natin. Nagsimula sa martial law, and then marami tayong pinasok na mga services. Marami tayong mga innovations. We had a lot of innovations. We joined even the politics, party list. We got hurt during the transformation journey, but believing that this will still work, we still move it. Maybe in a different picture, like integration. Okay. My last question to all of you. Let me see if I can really get an answer from you. The instruction is one word, top of the mind, and you have a common question. Are you ready? Let's start from Mr. Ebron. The question is?
One word.
Give that one word to describe
Hindi pwedeng one word eh. Kasi magkadugtong siya. One vision.
Talagang may resistance agad, ano?
One word.
One.
Integrated.
Teka muna, sandali lang. Sandali lang, wala pa yung tanong. One word to describe your vision for NATCO for the next decade, meaning going to the golden year. Let's have the answer.
One vision nga. One vision, so one word yun. Kasi hindi makontextualize pag vision
One
lang.
vision. Describe your
One
vision.
vision.
Kasi 10 years going, no?
One answer. One word.
One word nga, integrated.
Integrated.
Sa akin, simple lang. Greatness.
Greatness. Teka muna talaga. Sabi nga ni Kong, yung aming guest, Francis Kong, Pilipino, hindi sumasagot ng tanong. Kumain ka na? Busog pa ako eh. Malapit ka na ba? Dito pa ako sa Ortigas. Balik tayo. Sir, one word.
Amazing.
Oh, amazing future. Go ahead, sir.
Leader.
Leader. Vision.
Focus.
Focus.
One word.
Action.
May hugot talaga.
Wala na nag-justify.
Wala na nga, one word.
Changes.
Wow, changes. Ma'am, please.
Economically empowering.
Di ba, babae naman eh. Hyphen. Pagdidibatehan pa ba natin yan? Economically empowered.
Loved.
Loved.
Leadership.
Leadership.
Power.
Power.
Eminent.
Ano yun?
Eminent.
Eminence.
Compound word, one word, ha? Vibrantly sound.
Wala na?
Wala na, ikaw na lang.
Hyphenated compound word, pwede? One word na lang. Liquidity has passed, it's now solid. Solid.
Solid. Sabi nila, yun daw pangarap, kaya yan pangarap, kasi hindi pa yan present. Dream is not yet existing. That is why you're dreaming for it. That is your vision. That is their personal vision. Let us just pray that all of this vision, all of these dreams, we will fill in with reality and will come to a year when we see its fruition. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the story of NATCO for the last 40 years. And let us give a big round of applause to the leaders of NATCO. And please, tayo po tayo. Palakpakan po natin sila. Thank you so much for leading NATCO to where it is now. Pwede daw mag-stay muna dito. Oh, okay. And may I give the floor back to our MCs? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much to our dear CEOs and chairpersons. I believe what we have heard today, tonight, deserves a big round of applause. We would like to acknowledge po the presence of CDA Chairperson, Mr. Orlando Ravanera, and of course, Ms. Celia Atienza from the League of Cooperative Development Officers of the Philippines.
If I were also given a chance to say one word, I would have to choose sacrifice. It's because all of these leaders have their ways of sacrificing to where we are now. And we know that the cause that we are fighting for is more on integration. So before we give the Ruby Awards to our former chairperson and chief executive officers, we would like to thank Ma'am Belle Tizon
Ma'am Belle,
for
thank you
leading
very
us
much.
back to the very foundation of where we started. So in the past 40 years, NATCO has been led by powerful, strong-willed, and visionary chairpersons who gave direction to where we are now. So together with our previous and current chief executive officers, we are proud of what we have achieved and what we will achieve. So to give our Ruby Awards to our former chairpersons and our current chairperson and also to our chief executive officers, we would like to call on our vice